Hello there, everyone. If you're watching this video, then you are part of the TTOR army, an army that is building itself up one subscriber at a time. Now, as you can see from the title and thumbnail of today's video, today we're going to be looking at a particular strategy that I use when I'm engaging in discussions and arguments with non-believers, specifically with atheists and evolutionists. As you can see from the title and thumbnail as well, we're going to be using a recent conversation I had with Olivia Maynard as the prime example of the strategy that we're going to be talking about today. You see, when I'm engaging with atheists and evolutionists, something that I have done routinely over the course of my career as a content creator and self-taught apologist is that oftentimes I will listen and wait my turn to speak when dealing with atheists and evolutionists. I allow them to make their points in their entirety, even if what I want to respond to is early on in what they say. I let them finish talking before I say anything, and I wait in silence as I listen while they make their points. I do this not only because it's the polite and respectful thing to do when talking with anyone, but I have found over the course of my time as an apologist and content creator that if you let atheists and evolutionists keep talking long enough, they will eventually refute themselves, or they will say something that's so obviously false that you can absolutely hammer them on as far as a refutation and rebuke goes later on. So that's why I employ the strategy that I do. And here today, we're going to be going to the very first GodTVRadio live stream that I hosted on Brett Keen's channel. I restreamed the stream to my Joshu TV channel, which is why we're looking at the Joshu TV version of it instead of the YouTube. And the video is titled GodTVRadio, TTOR hosts for the first time, open discussion for all. And it is at the 44-minute and 5-second mark of this video where me and Olivia Maynard start talking about young Earth creationism versus atheistic evolution in relation to why young Earth creationists do not get hired by oil companies. So we're going to start listening here. And in the span of 5 minutes, you're going to see me get Olivia Maynard to completely flip-flop and contradict her starting position. But let's keep going and let's watch the actual video.
I took geology in school, and geology sure can make a lot of money and find a lot of oil. And, young Earth geologists don't get hired by the oil companies. Is another thing that they don't. It's geologists do. The scientists are the only ones making all that money. They can find oil and gold and natural gas. They can find the precious metals. And if their theories were wrong, they wouldn't be able to find all that stuff.
I'm not seeing how that is so. What is it about the different views of origins that would prevent a young Earth creationist from being able to find oil or any other natural reserves in the ground?
Maybe because their theory is wrong. You can't form oil if it just got created. Earth just got created 6,000 years ago. Older geology says that oil pockets form under certain conditions over millions and millions and millions of years. So that's one theory. The Earth is billions of years old, and plate tectonics is real, and mountains form this one way when plates collide and things like that. And that decaying matter from life billions of years old is stuck underground in a carbon, compressed carbon state called oil or gas or coal. Young Earth geology wouldn't have those same wouldn't interpret data even in close to the same way.
Before we continue on with the clip of this video, I think it's pretty obvious at this point that Olivia Maynard's starting position is that young Earth creationists don't get hired by oil companies because if you believe in young Earth creationism, you won't be able to do the things that working for an oil company requires of you, which, as you see later, is going to be being able to do math and being able to find oil in the ground. And so I'm trying to get Olivia to explain what it is about having a view of origins that affects your ability to find oil in the ground and do math. But let's keep watching. I got two things to say to that. One is that even in young Earth creationism models, oil still exists, even if the mechanism's completely different. And two, regardless of whether or not any of our worldviews are true, what does that have to do with the ability to find oil and stuff in the ground? Because your argument was is that young Earth creationists don't get hired for positions to go find oil.
I'm
And
just saying
I don't see
they
how the
don't.
differing worldviews would make any impact whatsoever in your ability to find oil. That's what I don't get.
Well, I can't say how it is that they fail to find natural resources. I can just say that when I did my time as an oil and gas recruiter, that we only accepted applications from certain universities, and they had to be accredited universities. And obviously there's no young Earth accredited university. If they could find oil and gas, we would hire them. We didn't care. Oil and gas companies aren't known for being woke. They're about the green, who can find the oil. And so that's how, one of the reasons I'm like, these guys obviously can't find oil.
Well, I would like to point out right now that young Earth creationists don't just come from some universities somewhere. I mean, I went through accredited schools for my collegiate career, and I have a college degree, and I came out as a young Earth creationist after I went through college. So I don't think where you came from school wise has any bearing on whether you're going to believe in atheism or young Earth creationism, evolution, or whatever view of origins we're talking about. I don't think where you went to school is really going to have any impact on that.
There's degrees in young Earth creationism, aren't? I'm pretty sure that there are. I think one is like maybe Oral Roberts University or something like that, or maybe Prager has one now. I'm just saying that if those ideas had true merit, that they would in the marketplace of ideas as far as money is going, that they would have something to point to in that sphere is all I mean. Like that I can't find a young Earth working geologist.
So
Tells me something.
So you're saying that the scientific and academic establishment would never have an ulterior motive to blackball the idea of young Earth creationism if there was good evidence supporting young Earth creationism?
I'm saying that companies don't care about that. They care about money. And that they you don't need a college degree to get hired at Tesla or to get hired at BP. You just need to be good at math or good at finding oil.
So then your view of origins has nothing to do with that then.
Your view of, is the Earth young or old? So whether God exists is irrelevant to the question of, is the Earth young or old?
Well, what I'm asking is, because you just said they have to be able to do math and they have to be able to find oil, and that was the requirements for getting into Tesla and these oil companies. So what I'm asking you is, so you're saying that your view of origins has nothing to do with how you can get into those companies? It's all about whether you can find oil and you can do math?
Right. I believe that's true. I think that we that capitalism, at least in that respect, is neutral as far as politics goes.
So, as we could see, in the span of 5 minutes, I got Olivia to flip-flop on her starting position. At first, she claimed that young Earth creationists don't get hired into oil companies, and that oil companies tend to favor people who believe in evolution in billions of years because young Earth creationism somehow prevents young Earth creationists from being able to do math and find oil. But by the end of this little segment, you saw me get Olivia to admit that getting hired by an oil company has nothing to do with your view of origins. It all depends on, can you do math and or are you good at finding oil? So the obvious implication here, and I think Olivia made it pretty clear, is that as long as you can do math and find oil, you can work for these oil companies, whether or not you're a young Earth creationist or an atheistic evolutionist or anything in between. It's completely irrelevant. And I'd like to point out to the viewing audience that this is not just true with oil companies. Pretty much every career occupation field outside of the academic and scientific communities, you don't have to have a specific view on origins in order to be able to do the jobs in those jobs or fields. Caregiving, for example, something that I've been doing for a decade now. My view on origins has absolutely no effect or influence or impact whatsoever on my ability as a caregiver. My ability as a caregiver is, well, are you patient with clients? Are you good at communicating with clients? Can you take care of them as far as helping them clean up in terms of hygiene? Or if they have accidents with a bowel movement or whatever, can you clean that up? Being able to support someone with their mobility and their ambulation, being able to administer meds properly as far as giving the right medications in the right dose at the right times and the right method every time, stuff like that. All of that you have to be able to do to be a good caregiver, and your view on origins has no bearing on your ability to do any of that. And this is true with most career fields. I mean, your view of origins does not have any impact whatsoever on whether or not you can work at a restaurant or a fast food restaurant. It has no impact on whether or not you can sell insurance or you can be a real estate agent. It has no impact whatsoever on whether or not you can design, make, or fix a car, for example. There's all kinds of fields and occupations where your view of origins literally has no impact whatsoever on whether or not you can do a job. The only real career fields where your view of origins actually could affect your ability to get and maintain a job is in the academic and scientific communities. Because you see, those communities are controlled by the atheists and evolutionists. And if you don't toe the line and say that atheism or evolution or billions of years or Big Bang cosmology is true, you can actually lose your job, get your career destroyed in those fields, lose tenure, and all other manner of horrible things can happen to you in those fields if you don't toe the line of evolution, billions of years, and Big Bang cosmology. And how did I get Olivia to do a flip-flop on this position and expose the foolishness of her original starting statement? I did it by patiently listening to her, letting her finish her sentences, and I basically asked her questions that were, one, related to what she just said, and two, got her to keep talking. And after 5 minutes of doing this, I was able to get Olivia to refute her original position and admit that your view of origins has nothing to do with whether or not you can get hired by an oil company. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this video, and if you're watching this on YouTube or a site like BitChute and you're seeing that this is a GodTV video that I'm showing you, I would encourage you, if you're a fan of mine and you haven't yet, create an account on GodTV and subscribe to my channel and check out my videos here on GodTV. I'm really close to hitting 100 subscribers on GodTV. And if you're a fan of mine on another platform and you like my content, you really should be watching me on GodTV because, one, I exclusively live stream here, and two, there's a whole bunch of content here on GodTV of mine that you won't find on YouTube or BitChute or a lot of other video sharing sites. So hopefully I'll see you on GodTV soon.